All right, welcome back, guys. So in this lesson, we want to talk about loops in JavaScript. So we have three main kinds of loops. We have the for loop, the while loop, and the do while loop. So we're going to look at all of them. All right. So right here in my app.js, okay, I'm going to create a variable. Now, I'm going to create a comment and say for loop because that is what we are doing right now. All right. So the way the for loop works is that whenever we want something to loop, okay, we want something to loop a particular number of times, maybe 10 times. I want my code or a particular logic to run 10 times, okay? I'm going to use the for loop. So how do I create a for loop? I'm going to start by using the keyword for, meaning I want to create a for loop. So this is a JavaScript reserved keyword. And then I'm going to open my parentheses and then open my code block. So the way it works is that then within these parentheses, I'm going to write some codes here, or some logic here. And then if all these evaluates to still be true, it's going to run everything inside this code block. So we're going to pass three things inside of our parentheses, okay? The first one is going to be our condition that we want to be, our variable. So I'm going to start by saying let I, this can be anything, but we're going to use I, be equal to 0. So this is our variable that we want to our loop to be based on, okay? The next thing is we're going to have our condition. So we want to say as long as I is less than or equal to 5, okay? So what we are saying is that this is our variable. I is presently equal to 0. So we want this loop to run as long as I is less than or equal to 5. And then if that is true, we want to iterate over I, or we want to add 1 to I. So I'm going to say I plus plus. All right, so before we continue, now we did arithmetic operators where we said 1 plus 1. This is definitely going to give us 2, okay? But whenever you see something like 1 plus plus, this means I want to iterate and add 1 to 1. So even if 1 is 100, this does not mean 100 plus 1. It means add 1 to 1, all right? So let's go back to our loop. I'm going to uncomment this, and then I'm going to say, what do I want to do if all of this is right? For now, I just want to log to the console. So I'm going to say console.log. Firstly, I'm going to pass a string number, go out, and then say, number, and then I want to add I. So I also want to log I. So I'm going to say plus I. So I want to get the value of I per time. Now this is what is going to happen. Initially, I is equal to 0. So the code will run because I is less than or equal to 5. So 0 is less than 5. So this code is going to run. That's 1. Now, because this is a loop, this is a for loop, JavaScript will not continue. It will not go to line 6. So let's add a console.log and say out of the loop, okay? I don't want to save that yet. To say out of the loop, all right? So the first time it's 0, the value of I, which is 0, is still less than 5. So it's going to loop. It will come back again. The second time, it's going to add 1 to I. So now I is no more 0. I is now 1, okay? So it will check for the condition. Is I less than 1? This time, I is now 1. Yes, 1 is less than 5. It's going to run this console.log again. Then it will come back again and check. It's going to add 1 to I. This time around, I is now 2, okay? So it's going to check, is 2 less than 5? Yes, it's going to run this. So this will continue to run as long as this condition is still true. So once this evaluates to false, it's going to jump out of this loop and then run this code, okay? So let's see what is going to run. So if we check our console, we have number 0. So it's going to run initially, I is 0, is going to run. It's going to go back again. I is now 1, okay? It's going to check, is 1 less than 5? Yes. It's going to log the present value of I, which is 1. So this is going to continue to loop. Once this is false, it might come again and then add 1, making 6. it's going to check is 6 less than or equal to 5. It's going to be false. So it's not going to run this again, jump out of this loop, and then run out of the loop. Okay, and that's why we have out of the loop on line 7. All right, so this is everything about the for loop. All right, so let's go to the while loop. I'm going to comment this everything here, but I'm going to copy this and then paste it down. So we'll check out the while loop. Okay, so we're going to use the while loop when we want our we use the while loop when we want our loop to continue, as long as the condition is true, but we don't know how many times it's going to run. Okay, but for the for loop, we know that yes, it's going to run at least 5 times, or 5 times rather. So the for loop, our condition is going to be outside. Let I be equal to 0. That is condition. That is our condition. Okay, so we'll come down and say while. While is a keyword. Alright. Okay, so while our condition block and then our code block. So within our condition, what do we want to check? Why I is less than, let's say, 5 again. Okay, so why I is less than 5, what do I want to do? I want to just log the value of I the way we did before. So console.log number plus whatever the value of I is, and then my iteration I plus plus. Okay, so if I save this, we are still going to get the same thing. But if you notice, I said why I is less than 5. So 4 is less than 5. 5 is not less than 5. Okay, and that's why we are not getting number 5. But if I add equal to at this point, now I'm saying why it is less than or equal to. So if I save this, I'm going to get the number 5. But if I delete equal to, the condition means why I is less than 5. All right, so this is everything about the while loop. And I said use the while loop when you want to loop while a condition is true and you don't know how many times in advance. All right, good. So that's all about the while loop. So lastly, let's look at the do while loop. So I'm going to create a comment. Just copy this, paste it here, and then say do while loop. All right, so the do while loop is similar. We're going to have our code, our variable outside. Let I be equal to 0. Okay, let I be equal to 0, and then we're going to say do, that is, do this function while the condition. Okay, so this is the syntax. So what do I want to do? I want to console.log. Let me just copy it. So I'm going to copy this and then replace it. So I want to log to the console the value of this I, and then iterate over the I plus plus, why I is less than 5. Let's say 7 this time. So if I save this now, we're going to get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because we said why it's less than 5. So we're going to, this is the do while loop. Do this, perform this logic while the condition. Okay, so the main difference is that for the for loop, our condition, our variable, our condition, our iteration is going to be inside of the parentheses. Okay, now for the while loop, our variable is going to be outside, our condition, what we want to execute, and the iteration will be inside of the code block. Okay, so don't forget, you use for loop when you know the number of times you want your loop to run. Okay, you use while loop when you want your loop to run while the condition is true, but you don't know how many times in advance. Okay, so you use the do while loop when you need to you use the do while loop when you want the loop to run at least once, even if the condition is false. Okay, so even if this condition is false, it's still going to execute this at least once. Okay, all right, so that's all about the loop in JavaScript, the 3 main loops we have in JavaScript. We still have the for off loop, which is way beyond the scope of this class. All right, but these are the 3 main loops we have in JavaScript. So in the next class, we're going to see arrays, the basics of array and array methods. I'll see you in the next class.